to your Personal Power Boost with Dr. Verna, a global force for transformation, unlocking human potential one leader at a time. Are you looking for a boost to help you reclaim your personal power? Then this is your weekly source, where we dive into conversations about navigating your professional and life journey. So, take a deep breath, open up your heart, and get ready to ignite your leadership and fuel your spirit. Let's go. Welcome back to Dr. Verna's Personal Power Boost. And I hope that you're getting a personal power boost every week, because that is the goal of this podcast, is that you leave feeling like you can get this thing done. You can do this thing. Yes, you can. And you can make it one more day, one more moment, one more week. Okay. All right. So we're going to start with the change your life, because you're going to make some changes after we have this conversation. And some of those changes are all going to be good for you. Some of them might be a little challenging, but you can do it. Okay. So let's go ahead and do our affirmation. This is my life, and I get to change it when I want to, how I want to, if I want to, because it was given to me. And that makes me very valuable, very important, very lovable, and extremely powerful. All right. So, have you ever had someone say to you, good morning, how you doing? And they didn't look at you. They didn't stop for a moment just to be present for you. They just said, morning, how you doing? And then just kept going. The truth is that they were saying good morning, how you're doing. Their words had maybe some meaning to it, but how they said it was what their body language, their tone basically said, it doesn't matter if you came this morning or not. I don't even care about you. And for those of you who are working with your teams and you are working to make something happen in your organization, you are going to have to figure out how to talk to people. And it's not just what you're saying, but it's how you're saying it. So I can say to you, I remember my very, very first boss. Okay. Her name was Miss Alice. And I started my career as a preschool teacher. And let me tell you, I learned so much as a preschool teacher that I use today, whether I'm doing this podcast or whether I'm on a stage with 10,000 people in front of me. I use these same sorts of tips and tricks, right, that I learned from my preschoolers. Like, for example, always be prepared. Just no matter what, just be prepared. I'm on a stage, the mic goes out. What do? You don't fall apart. You just take a deep breath, and the ear mic goes out. Go get a hand mic and keep it moving. So, and for those my team members that work with me, my staff, they know that I have this thing I call work it out. That means you have to go and you got to flow. Keep working it out. Do not allow any situation to just stop you. Refuse to do it. Just find another way. Take a deep breath. Go for it. So one of the things you have to learn is kind of it's not just what you're saying to people, but it's how you're saying it. So my first boss, she had, first of all, she was just sweet. She was a sweet person. And don't mix people up. Don't mix up. Just because someone is sweet and kind does not mean that they are not solid, that they are firm, that they are strong. Don't mix that up, because we so easily mix up people's personalities, and we think somehow that because they're soft-spoken or maybe they're quiet, reserved, that they are not strong. Let me tell you, these people are strong. They know exactly what they want. And I just remember Miss Alice, and Miss Alice has now gone on to become literally like a family member. She's still in my life all these many years later, and she's an auntie to my children now, and I just love her. But she would say to me, in this nice, soft, quiet voice, she'd come into my preschool room. I was responsible for 15 2.5-year-olds. Let me tell you, that's a big job. It's a lot. They taught me how to be spontaneous, flexible. They taught me how to be articulate because you have to say what you want. Like some of you in the workplace, you're not saying what you want. You know why you haven't gotten a raise yet? Because you haven't asked for it. That's why. The money is there, but you simply haven't asked for it because you're afraid. What are you afraid of? That they'll say no? They may say no. So what? Ask next time. Ask in a month. Ask in 2 months. Ask tomorrow. Keep asking. Why? Because sooner or later, if you're doing a good job. Now, mind you, if you're not doing a good job in the workplace, don't ask for a raise. If you can't be on time, get there on time, get your stuff done. If you can't show your outcomes, you can't show your impact, don't bother asking for a raise because you're just going to get your feelings hurt. Okay. But if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're meeting your marks, you are getting it done, you are getting amazing reviews, it's time to what? Ask. Just use your voice and ask. And so she would come into my room, into my preschool room, and she'd see me doing something that maybe wasn't as impactful and or could be better. First thing is first. Okay. This is very important. This is the how. Now, some people may call this conversation an EQ, right? Emotional quotient versus an IQ, intellectual quotient. You can call it that if you want to, because what I'm talking about really is EQ and IQ, but I'm calling it your what versus your how. So she would call me to the side. First of all, when you're going to have a hard conversation with someone, or you're going to say something that may sound a bit critical or constructive criticism, be sure that you have that as a private conversation first. First, have a private conversation. And in that private conversation, you want to wrap what you're saying. What? The what? Now, it could be a hard thing. It could be as hard as saying, I have decided to let you go. And here's why. It could be a hard thing. Whatever it is that you have to say, first of all, say it privately. Pull that person away, have that conversation to the side with them, and then wrap what you're saying into kindness. My first principle when I became a 5th grade teacher, I've been a teacher all my life, right? When I became a 5th grade teacher, she said, whatever you say, always speak the truth, be totally honest, and totally kind all at the same time. So what are we doing? We're being totally honest. You have the facts, you have the information, you have your what. Now, that's the intellectual part, right? You know what it is you're thinking, you know what it is you want to say. Now you got to wrap it in the how. And my preschool teacher boss, Miss Alice, she would say, "Oh, Verna, you are such a wonderful person. You're so wonderful with the children. And you know what, Verna? Here's what I want you to do. You could be so much more effective if you would do this, this, and this. So what I'd like you to do is I want you to try doing this, and this. Do you have any questions about that, Verna?" And I would be like, "No, that's great. That's wonderful." But the truth of the matter is that what she was saying to me was, "Verna, pull yourself together. Verna, you've got to do better here, here, and here." But how she did it was with kindness. How she did it was with care. How she did it was what? She was recognizing, I'm a person, I'm a feeling person. You know what? I I need to know in the workplace that someone cares about me, that I matter there. She was saying, I want to be present for you, Verna. And she was also asking me, is there anything that you like to say, or do you have any questions? She was providing a space for me to have voice. So in the workplace, when you have to say something hard, or when you're working with your team, first of all, figure out exactly what you want to say. When you get into meetings, for example, and you say something like, well, I'm not quite sure this is correct, but I'm sure most of you will probably think that I'm crazy when I'm saying this. Well, guess what? They probably will. So let's put aside all of that, self-commentary, where you basically, dismiss yourself before you're even saying what you're going to say. Let's put that aside. And for those of you who do that a lot, when you have something important to say to your team, I want you, first of all, to think about it. And then I want you to write it down and then memorize it and then say to your team. And then when you say to your team, first thing I want you to do is I want you to think about, what is it about that team member that you value? First, secondly, I want you to think about, how can you just simply be present with that team member? And third, I want you to think about your tone, watching your tone, so that your tone is saying, I care about you, that you are valuable here on this team, you matter to me. However, I'm still going to have a conversation with you. So the tone then becomes your how. Let me tell you, if you want to communicate well with your team, sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Let me restate that. Most often it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So you can say something very difficult to your team, but how you say it will open the door for them to accept what it is that you're trying to say to them. Now, most of you know that my first book, and I've got 4 of them, but I talk about my first book a lot because it's really the foundation of my teaching. The Power of People, 4 kinds of people who can change your life. And those 4 types of people are adders, subtractors, multipliers, and dividers. And if you've been listening to me for all this time and you haven't ordered that book, please go to my website, drvernaprice.com, and get your copy today. It's important that you have it because it's going to be very, very helpful to you. What I'm really saying to you is that when you to communicate well with your team, and I'll talk a lot more about this as we go through the podcast and you get some more, power boost from me, because this is really, really key, is that what you're saying, that is a part of your intellectual quotient, right? You know what to say, you know what the facts, information, and so forth. You're a good thinker. But work on your emotional quotient. Work on connecting with your team members. Work on good eye contact. Work on your tone. Work on being present with your team. And what will happen is, as you do that, what you're going to do is you're going to be communicating with them as an adder. Now, let me give you just one little tip. When you communicate with your team member like an adder, your goal is to bring value, add value to them. And so when you add value to your team member, here's what's going to happen. The first thing that will happen, besides the fact that they're going to be very, very grateful to you, and they're going to be very thankful that they get to work with someone who actually cares about them, is that you're going to see this immediate spike in the confidence of your team. They're going to put their shoulders back, their eyes are going to open up, they're going to be like, yeah, sure, let's talk about that. Why? Because you've shown them that they matter to you and that they're important to you. And what you've tapped into is their birthright. And we're going to talk more about that in weeks to come. But when you tap into the birthright of your team, in other words, you begin to communicate with them through your tone, through your connecting with them, that they matter and that they're valuable to that workplace and that they're important to you, that you care about them and that you actually think that they're powerful, things will change with your team. It's going to change your entire team dynamic. And let me give you a tip. When your dynamic changes, your morale changes. When the team morale changes, productivity changes. When productivity changes, profitability is right around the corner. All right. I hope this was helpful. Let's go ahead and finish up with our affirmation. This is my life, and I get to change it when I want to, how I want to, if I want to. Why? Because it was given to me. And that makes me very valuable, very important, very lovable, and extremely powerful. All right, go for it. It's not your what, it's your how. Okay, see you later. Bye. If today's episode spoke to you, and you know it's time for a shift in how you lead, how your team connects, or how your culture performs, I want to personally invite you to take the next step. Book a free consultation at drvernaprice.com/workwithme and explore your next keynote, your leadership workshop, or executive coaching. It's time to get your power back, and it is time to get to your next level.